Yo, for some muna akwa baba NJ Ghana Radio ni A2 TV. And then me wo akukudamfo bi wa han man ne me din komo na ma eni yen atwetwe enkomo so biem. Efa college abrabo ene ye parents African parents. Say na enomo etifie na omo ne eye den. Esom ana omo ne yen edi abrabo mu enkomo. Aha ene me wo enua bema Reggie ene Jeffrey ene Ella ewa ha. Nti nyinaa ebebom na edidi nkomo but Reggie ene Jeffrey na ebedi ade hu ntintimma pa. Nti Jeffrey ma kwa aba.
Hello.
Me ma kwa baba NJ Ghana Radio so ene A2 TV.
Thank you.
Yeah. Na yeka introduce who chere etefo.
My name is Jeffrey. I go to the Ebenezer Ghana SDA Church in New Jersey. I am a medical lab scientist currently at the hospital, but I usually go to Kane University over in Union as well. So this year's supposed to be my last year, and for the most part, yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, all right. Yo. Nti the moten kan no ye Jeffrey. Ye wo Regis wo ha nti Regis we ba na no be introduce ne ho akire yen. Reggie.
Good evening.
Good evening. It is saying.
Yeah. And also,
Boko. But my introduce one akire etefo.
Yeah. So I'm Regis. I also attend Ebenezer Ghana SDA Church. I attend Montclair State University as well, and I'm seeking a degree in computer science.
All right. Computer science for no. Meduha. All right. Yeah, boy, you knew about Ella and so ha. Ella, but my tenor come on na etefo her phone so who.
Patros say dear me so it won't be the safest option for me to do that at the moment, but I'm glad to introduce myself for the people on the air. My name is Ella.
Okay.
I attend the sister church, Maranatha Ghana SDA Church.
Okay.
I am an alum of Tufts University located in Medford, Massachusetts, where I got my bachelor's in chemical engineering. And I now do supply chain and procurement at L'Oreal. Pleasure to be here.
All right. Yamamunina Akwaba Eba A2 TV. So right now, no, I'll leave it over to Jeffrey to moderate.
All right, thank you. For the most part, I guess I'll introduce why we're doing this. I remember I talked to Regis about a plan I had, or like an idea basically, where us in Knoxville would create a podcast, because I feel like the one thing that Knoxville hasn't had so far was having a podcast and having people just to be able to talk to each other without having the stigma or saying, oh, the adults are watching, or oh, this, that, and the third, or oh, I'm scared because A, B, and C. It should be a space where we should be able to talk about life, because at the end of the day, it's an unprecedented area where us as second generation or third generation, we're going into a different world where it's not Ghana, it's America. And there's things like high school or middle school or things like college and just in life in general. And there's so many experiences that we have as people, and there's so many people that have gone to our same church and have gone to do tremendous things, and they haven't been really be able to talk about it. So in my own personal opinion, I feel like a podcast would be perfect, not only for Knoxville, but for our own people. And I'm so thankful for Uncles for giving us the opportunity to have a chance to be able to talk, because we shouldn't have to feel a certain type of way. We shouldn't have to perform and say, okay, I'm at church, so I should act a certain type of way, or I'm at this, because at the end of the day, we are our own human beings. We shouldn't have to perform or be a certain type of person because, oh, our parents are watching. So when I was given the chance to do this, I think 2 weeks ago, I was saying I'm all for it. It would have been live, but circumstances permit. We have to do it over Zoom, but for the most part, it's like Uncle presented. We're going to be talking about our experiences in college, our experiences of life, and just in general, just things to be able to talk. Because at the end of the day, community and us being God-minded people, we should be able to talk about anything and anything under the sun. So I don't know if anyone else has anything to add, but that's just my 2 cents for this to introduce this topic.
So right now is the floor is yours. So you guys have to start whatever you have on board to discuss.
Okay, so I will say something on the basis of the fact that Jeffrey spoke about the fact that there's no real space for us to be able to have these conversations. It's a new thing, and with change, obviously, there's sometimes trepidation, but it's not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. And in the past, maybe people have wanted to do this idea, like, but just hadn't had the resources and everything to do so. No one set of individuals are the same. And so what came with like previous experiences with people came with different strengths than what we have today. That makes any sense. And then it's going to be the same for those who come after us. Um, Today, just today, yeah, I was talking to the youth a little bit, the younger ones, and I noticed a complete like shift in terms of just the way that they grew up, in terms of uh, the way they relate to each other, as well as the way they are at church is different. And then, for example, the way someone my age or someone Jeffrey's age or Ella's age may have grown up. The experiences are different. The interactions are different, to be honest. They feel more free, but weirdly, in a sense, like they feel free, but yet somehow it doesn't necessarily lead to them being the most free to then participate in events or something like that. It's a weird dichotomy, but it's also again interesting because, like I said, they're at a different age than us, and so it's bound to happen, you know.
Yeah, to jump on that opinion as well, I feel like when I was younger, it was like a matter of, oh, this person is older than me. I should have like a level of respect. Not to say that the kids don't respect now, but it's like they feel more comfortable to be able to talk to us. Um, in that same instance we just was talking about, um, someone was calling me, I don't want to say, well, broke because like I don't have the money they have. But even just even talking about money, this person was like a 10-year-old girl talking to me about money. When I was 10, I like the physical cash. Yeah, I had a sense of that, but it's like they were talking about, oh, I had like 400, 500 in my savings. I have $46 in my checkings. I was like, wait, when I was 10, I didn't worry about checkings or savings. I didn't even know what that was. I knew about physical cash and I knew that my parents somehow were able to pay the bills. But other than that, I had no recollection of that. So I feel like now where everyone has like the phones and everyone has access to digital things, you get a lot of backlash. You get a lot of like bad things, but it also comes with the good in the sense that you get to learn more about things that you probably learn in like classes like financial literacy, or you figure out later in life. Whereas now it's just a click of the button. It's like, oh, how do I get money as 14, 13, 15, that type of thing. And people give you advice on there. So I feel like it's a crazy little area we just find ourselves now where it's just things are just so like fast paced and it's just over the head, over the top. Whereas, like I was saying before, we're able to just conversate and just, be free, be human almost. Whereas before, it was, like I said before, there was like a barrier between people. So I guess it's kind of freeing in a way that we're able to just talk and just give our advice and also just joke and be, the people that we saw beforehand. when I was younger, I was always scared of like the older people. It's like, oh, not even just saying older people. It's like the people who were in college at that time. I was scared to talk to them because I felt like, oh, auntie, uncle, that type of thing. Whereas now, I'm getting called broke by 10-year-old people. But at the same time, it lets you to be able to, carry on that advice and carry on the things you carried on from life. Because naturally, I've learned a lot of stuff in my 22 years of life. So I guess it's also freeing for me in a way, but it's also freeing just to know that they don't put walls up and they don't decide, okay, I have to be a certain type of person. No, they conversate. They are being kids. At the end of the day, you shouldn't put a guard up and say, oh, you should do this, this, and that because he's A, B, and C older than you. No, at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all growing. Not to say you don't go to your elders and just do whatever, but 22, I'm hardly an adult. And I was like that before. Like I'm saying, I always had like a guard up. So I'm very, very glad that the youth now more than ever, they don't put barriers. They ask questions. They are almost free in a way where we didn't have that before.
Yeah, bro, I totally agree. It's weird because, like you said, we grew up in the same church, and so we kind of have very very similar experiences of things. I never imagined that I'd be that person that a, a youth member would be able to talk to as if there's like their leader, for example. Like I I didn't think I'd be that type of individual at all because first and foremost, like you said, there were the unks and the aunties that we thought maybe they would be the ones doing this at this time. Um, when I was younger, I wasn't even really into the church like that, to be honest. Not in a bad way, like that it was something that I hated. No, 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 not at all. But it was just something that, okay, it was cool. Like I got to have a day out of the week where I get to see these people that my family are cool with, and then I get to make friends that way. So it was great. But then to tell myself that maybe 15 years down the line that you'll be like a person in which someone can come and ask you for Pathfinder stuff, for example. You you couldn't tell younger me that that was going to be the case. Um, again, I guess it's a good thing. Today, Uncle Sylvester talked about something very briefly. He said, uh, "We don't really know what's going to happen in life," and he said this in a previous sermon that he did once. He wants to end every interaction that he has with "You're not in control." It makes sense, and I hear it now more than ever, to be honest, because yeah, I didn't think I'd be this person.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's surreal, but honestly, I do kind of like it in a way though, because it just keeps you grounded in the sense that I had a sermon. That's another thing. When you grow older, you just naturally just get more and more responsibilities. Like I never thought when I was like 12, 13, growing up that I'll be doing sermons, but by God's grace and by the church, He allows us to have a youth chapel and everything. And honestly, I don't regret it one bit, but I think that's the thing where as you grow older, you become more and more inclined to be involved in everything, which is really, really great. I don't regret that in the slightest. But one thing I also wanted to touch upon was you don't really have like like a process of just being and growing. It just more so you just get thrown into it. And especially Uncle George. Uncle George, oh my gosh, he would throw you into everything. And at the time it was like there's like 20 other people who could do this role. Why are you choosing me? But like I was mentioning, I had a sermon where I basically had this whole idea where I didn't even know I was preaching at the time, but one thing I do like doing is just going to the Bible and just picking up verses that I don't usually think upon. As like it's not obvious in your face, like John 3:16, for example. You can't just say, oh yeah, God loved me, so He sent His Son. It's not obvious. So I like picking up verses that don't jump out at you at first and talking about it. So that was the basis of my sermon, basically, where I wrote about it and I just reflected upon it, and I reflected how we're lucky as people to be born into a church, one, and born into a church that allows us to have a youth chapel. And not a lot of people can say that. Now more than ever, people really have like, I want to say, like a God shaped hole in their hearts where they look towards everything and anything under the sun, but it never fulfills their needs. And I remember I reflected upon one of the verses where I always, when I was growing up, I wanted to be like the person who, the typical like American, Saturday morning, you wake up at like, I don't know, like 10 o'clock, watch cartoons, do whatever because you have the extra day to do your homework on Sunday and that. And at first, I really did not like going to church. I think I even talked to you about this, where like I didn't want to go to church except for like, I don't know, see the friends I don't get the chance to see, but like I would never pay attention to church. I'd always get moved because I was always talking too much. And like it went from that to having an appreciation to be thrown into things. Because as much as I hated being thrown into all the certain situations and stuff, it helped me to grow and it helped me to be able to be comfortable speaking in front of people. Like, for example, I'm on a live stream right now where this is probably going on YouTube and everything. If you told me this in like COVID, I'd be scared out of my mind. But it's just the way life works is crazy because I've gone from doing small things for Uncle George and even like the smaller things like doing Sabbath school. That used to scare me terribly. When Uncle Jima would tell us, okay, go food, I used to scare me. I couldn't do that. So I went from doing that to doing the sermons, doing the stuff upstairs, and it just really helped me to be able to grow out of my shell that I have. So for me, um, yeah, it's a crazy factor of life. But I guess one thing I could probably ask you guys is just did you always enjoy going to church when you were younger? Because for me, I remember I think I asked Regis this, but I remember one of our friends, Mommy Phoebe, she said she always loved going to church. And I was like, since birth, you were born into the church. You didn't have a choice. Your parents would wake you up 7 in the morning. Uncle, sorry. I was like, yo, I don't like that. Like I don't even have a choice. It's just like I'm born and then my memory just comes in and then from all I can remember is I wake up 6:30 in the morning. I'm going to a place I don't want to go. So I want to hear you guys' opinion as well from this.
All right, Ella can go first. I want to hear what she says too. All right, she might be busy, so I'm gonna just answer the question. So I'm the strangest thing is I'm with my Phoebe. Um, I did always enjoy going to church. It's just I probably didn't enjoy it for the right reasons at first, if that makes sense. Yeah, like before going to church was like just seeing my friends, my actual friends, not my school friends. Because there's a difference. There's a difference. When you have school friends, um, yeah, you see each other every single day of the week at that point. But I think you get to a point where you realize that these this set of friends is
Reggie,
gonna
hold on.
grow
Let me
apart.
ask you this question. You say
Yeah,
your actual friends,
yeah,
not your school friends. What's the
right.
difference? Can you explain that here so that those who are listening or watching can get your point across?
Okay. Um, so I had a set of friends in school as well as um a set of friends at church. And I think the difference is the longevity, like how long they stay with you. Um, just for school friends, I feel like they're for a season in your life, and you'll vibe over certain things, which will be fine, but it'll go to a place where it'll just grow apart, right? But with your church friends, I think it's based off of us believing the same faith. It's a good starting place to just branch off into other things. So we'll start with the faith, or maybe we won't even start with the faith. We'll start with something random. Like with me and Jeff, it was soccer, right? That's how we became like close. We're both Man United fans, and so it just makes sense. But from there, it kind of just grows over time.
Jeffrey,
Whereas
you're talking
with
about a Manchester vibe, right? You have to be
I
specific
mean,
so that we
since you
know
want to
where
go there,
your
yeah,
point.
we're talking about Manchester United.
Manchester United and Man City.
Oh no, City's not good. Come on.
Okay, let's go on. So for us, you're not paying no bills in the house. Prepare to pack your things out. You know what I'm talking about, right? All right. We're listening to you, Jeffrey. Reggie.
yeah, so with your school friends and your church friends, they just kind of grow with you, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the basis of it. And so I got to see my actual friends, which were my church friends, on a Sabbath every single day of the week. And so that's why I enjoyed going to church at first. Maybe not the best reason, maybe not the right reason, but then over time, um, you grow and stuff happens to you, and so you start thinking of like bigger picture stuff, you know, um, like how why the world works the way it works. And so curiosity grows, and then start asking questions. And the place where I can get those questions answered most of the time is the church. And so when I got to that stage, it started to get really interesting for me to just come to church and then learn new things about God and why the world works the way it does. I I'd say I'm a little bit more mellow now, but I had a stage in which I would ask a lot of questions just because I was very, very like curious about um literally everything, anything and everything at church. And so I had that stage, and I'd say it fostered a love for the church that I don't think could be broken now. So yeah, that's I'm with Mommy Phobia. I've always loved coming to church.
Yeah, listen, I love going to church for the wrong reason because, like I said before, um, I'm kind of similar to you in a way where it was like if I had to go, it would because my friends will be there. I'm the weird case because I left Newark and like when I was like younger, so I didn't even have the choice to say, oh, I'm running into A, B, and C downtown because if I'm in Newark, it's most of the time it's because it's church. So it was a nice time to be able to see friends and whatever. I got like so many memories of Regis, Liberty, Christian, for example, and we would just talk about it would be everything but church. Like for example, Chelsea, Chelsea being bad in like 2014 was the best thing possible for me because every result Saturday, I would talk to Liberty about it. Every result on Sunday, I had to wait until Saturday to get off my chest and pray that United would win. So it went from being that to, I guess my situation was I felt, I felt the messages, but it was like more so, oh, I'll listen. It hits me on Saturday, and then the rest of the week is just like I'll just do my own thing. Up until COVID, I don't think I realized the impact of the church until then, because that's when the habit got broken, and I'm suddenly at home. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't see the people I, you know, would want to see every week. So it went from being that, and like, funnily enough, I think the moment I remember where things just clicked for me was like after New Year's 2020 when United lost to Arsenal, and I was actually I was so sick of that match where I was like, you know what, let me just open up the Bible, seeing it that could calm me down. It actually worked. So I think that's where it went from. I was like, oh, I see why people do this church thing and people really, want to follow God because I feel like where I said before, people have that God shaped home in their hearts. That moment there, where like I just forgot about everything stalker. I forgot about everything in life. It's just like, wow, this passage is beautiful. I remember it was the book of Matthew. I think I just started reading. I just couldn't put it down. And I think it went from being that to where it was before, when I was like, I'm just there for my friends. I'll listen Saturday, to from that to now where I love just talking about things and just being outside of the blue of things. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a universal experience where it's like people crave connection, and the best way to have connection is through the church. You don't get it through school because you're different in that way. You're first of all, people treated like Africans crazy in like the early 2000s. So it's like even from that point on, it was like you can't really have that connection with people unless you're either African or people are just you have some common ground. So being in America, they love their football, they love their baseball, all of that. You don't have that connection with soccer. People don't like Africans back then. So the only place where you can actually feel like you belong to is the church. The only place you feel like you can belong to and actually, not feel like the outsider is that church. So I guess it's just the common ground of things where you have people around you and you can actually express yourself. And I think that's just a universal experience where it goes from, okay, I want to be with my friends because I have that connection and I have some type of bond there that I can't really have with other people outside of the church. From not being to, oh, I understand why, my family and the adults are singing praises of worship because life gets crazy sometimes. Life is really, really bad. And you have that connection to the church. You have that bond where, like I said, it also found from that foundation of being connected and being with those people in a like-minded community to having the faith in God and sharing that with the community you fostered throughout the years. I don't know. I guess that leads me to my next point though, because I think I was talking about there was a stage in my life though when I was talking about the actually very recently the parable of the prodigal son, and I've always had this story where it's like, oh, this story is like really, really cool, but I didn't really like the ending as much as people really liked it because it's it's a touching story. It talks about God's grace and everything, but the one thing that always stuck with me was the other son, and I couldn't understand it why until like a Sabbath school lesson where it just talked about someone brought up the prodigal son. And I was like, wait, would that mean that in the case of the prodigal son, we all know the story where he goes out, he takes his father's riches, he goes out and he sees the world isn't as great as he thinks it is. So he goes and he says, okay, I'll go back to my father. I'll just try and be his servant. I won't even try to be his son. Father forgives him. Everything's great. I like that part of the story, but something that stuck out to me was the fact that the other son had envy and he complained. It's like, oh, I've been in the house. I've been doing all these things that you wanted me to do. Why is he getting, a party? Why is he getting sheep slaughtered and cooked for, him disobeying you and then coming back because he wasted all your riches? And it reminds me of where we are now in a society where, people ridicule people for being outside and, being away from the church. And it kind of stuck with me because mostly it reminds me of like how I was before COVID and everything, where I go to the church and I fall in line basically. I do what the adults want me to do, and I trying to be the perfect person, not even just for God but for the adults. So I guess my next question becomes, when did it click to you that you really wanted to have an involvement in the church? Because for me personally, it was I don't say forced upon me, but it wasn't something I was in I didn't find an enjoyment in it, but as I've gone on, I've grown to like being involved in church. I've grown to like doing things. I've grown to like Pathfinder. I've grown to like youth choir. And funnily enough, I think it's a universal experience for the boys to, be forced upon youth choir. I think you had the same story as well, Regis, right? Yeah, so my thing is how does it actually a better question, how does it become a blurred line between doing it blindly and doing it because you want it to be done?
Well, it's obviously much better doing it because I want to. Um, the point in which I started doing it because I want to was actually quite recent, to be honest. Um, I say maybe around 2022. Um, and weirdly enough, God just does these things where he'll have like a big thing revealed to you during a time in which you have other things coming up as well that relate to him. So it's all shooting at you at one time. It's like, okay, yeah, it's obvious the message you're trying to get through to my head, right? So for me, it actually started with revelations in the Bible. I think I told you this once, but like I I went through one Sunday in which I was literally kind of scared out of my life because if you don't know, Revelations is quite a scary book if you think about it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, with the past elements as well as the future elements which are yet to come,
Hmm.
it can be a very scary book. But with me, weirdly enough, I read that and then I did have that kind of s- scared nature, but it also just made me more curious. So I I spent the entire Sunday like one of those theorists, right? I spent the entire Sunday on my laptop, my phone, just looking up different videos that had to do with like what the messaging in Revelations mean, because I was like dumbfounded by what I found. And then from then on, like I said, God does these things where he'll have you doing something when he wants to tell you this message and everything. So I had a preaching coming up um around that time as well. And so preaching was after youth camp, which I love going to youth camp because obviously there's more friends that you meet, but it's also a place where genuinely the services are actually very good. Like the speakers that they get each year, solid, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that year was the Holy Spirit. And so I took what I found into the Holy Spirit and then put it in my sermon. And from the sermon, I thought I was gonna go like 15 minutes, comfy. I was
Why?
even I was even at a stretch if I were to reach 15 minutes, but um somehow I ended up going an hour for some reason, which obviously is
Wow.
too long. Yeah, obviously it's too long, but I don't know. I just got caught up in it, I guess. I've kind of refined that in the meantime, but
You know, in moments like that, I always like to charge it to the Holy Spirit because, especially when you're so caught up on like, okay, let me hit these minutes and make sure I'm engaging my audience, but also trying to be clear. But then you just ask God to be to make you as a vessel, and then He takes to the wind, and before you know it, not only has so much time passed, you were able to touch someone through your message. You know.
hopefully so. Um, that is the case when you go and do a sermon. You hope that you touch somebody, and it's not just you doing lip service in that. But I went from there, and then I got really interested in just like doing more stuff and learning more stuff at church. So that's the point in which I got really interested and started doing things because I wanted to do it, and not because these are things that were forced upon me in the beginning. So yeah,
I guess for me, I don't know. Like I've always had this thought where legacy, like it's crazy to say now because I'm only like 22. I'm acting like I'm like 70 something, but
mm,
I think legacy is a big lasting impact where we talk about like generations all the time, like the generation that's come before us and how we look up to them and everything. And I always wondered like what legacy could I pass on to those who come after me, or at least the ones that see me when they're growing up. And I guess for me, it was just more so, how can I do things that makes it like I want to say seem easy, but it seems like there's no weight on it. For example, Youth Week of Prayer, that sermon that we had, I wanted people to understand that although it's terrifying to do like a sermon upstairs for like adults and everything, and although it's hard to like do the whole 9 yards when you're like moving from left to right, this and that, I wanted to I wanted to almost show that if I could do it, it's very easy for anyone else to do it. And I guess that's the mentality where I have now, where every time I try to do something, whether it be in like Pathfinder or youth choir or anything I'm involved in upstairs, you can have that free of mind and just thought that, oh, you've gone from this person who's been a shell, talks really fast when he speaks, is very, very timid, to talks relatively slower now, um, can command a room a teeny bit, and just try to do everything to the best of his ability. And I wanted the youth to just feel like I don't have to have any weighty pressure on me because I'm doing a service. I'm doing it because I want to glorify God. I'm doing it because I want to, impress God or at least please Him, not to please my parents, not to please my friends, not to look cool, but just to do it because if I can do it from a shy person to being where I am now, anyone else could do it. And that's the mentality where I have now for my services, where I want to make it seem like, well, not seem, I want to make it look like you can have that confidence, you can have that belief in yourself to do these things by the grace of God. If you call upon Him, if you try to do His work, He will help you in everything you do. So I guess I'd say, like, I don't know, that's 2014, I think, when I really wanted to just improve upon my speaking and improve upon just being able to conversate to people. Because I've always been this kind of shy person in a way. I didn't really want the attention on me. I always wanted to be like the background person. Um, and actually, Uncle George doesn't let you be that background person. I feel like we're just gonna test this the most. But once you become that adult, you just have to shape yourself to be, someone who can go on and do various roles out of the blue, like day before, minute before even. So my goal was just to be someone who enjoyed the role rather than just say, okay, I mean, I've been called upon to do it. I'm, I have to do it. I don't want to do it. My goal is just to be able to have that confidence, just play that confidence, and just to be able to be that guide for, or a reference at least, for those who come after me.
Bro, it's funny you bring up the youth choir, because mm, so like you said, it's just a canon event for all of the boys to just be originally forced into the choir, and either you fall in love with it or you don't. But
Mm,
with me, so a while ago, there was a thing in which Kwekuche at the time, he was recruiting. They needed boys in the choir. Um, it was myself, Francis, Bright, Joe, and he said, "You know what, guys? I need boys. I know your parents will be down for it." They bring your parents into it. So it's like, your parents will be down for it. We're still kind of like, I don't know.
right.
And then he bribes us. He was like, "Oh, you know what? You guys just join this one time. You don't have to even,
No, that's
it's
how they get you, man.
just
Every time,
just
just
the
just the one time, you
just the
can
one
leave
time,
after that.
man.
Man. That's how they get you.
Um, just sing with us one time upstairs. You don't have to do anything after that. I'll even buy you pizza. They throw in that extra little, I'll buy you a pizza."
I didn't even get the pizza. They just got forcing people in their room at that point.
But to this day, I don't know where that pizza is. But yeah, bro. So we ended up singing. I think, what song did we sing? It must have been like one of the older youth choir songs that we sang, right? We sang, and it wasn't bad. And then it got into practice. He asked me to go into a practice, and that might have been the most terrifying experience I've had up until that point in
Mhm.
my life, because somehow that first practice, it just feels like everyone is watching you, just because
I'm telling
what
you,
it's like, what are you
every.
doing here? What are you doing here? You don't go here.
Mhm.
Um, so I had that, and it felt weird. It felt really weird at first, but then you
Yeah.
just keep going. You just keep going. You sing a couple more songs, and it's then like, okay, now you're like a member of the choir officially, and so it's cool. Now, now I feel like it's taken like a little bit of another step, in
Hmm.
which before we didn't really have like established part leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, you could assume who the part leaders were. Like, if I were to tell you, like, Uncle Evans Amako was the part leader for Tenet back then, it would make sense,
Yeah. Yeah.
because he was the most experienced, and then like he was very consistent as well, along with Steven at the time, which,
You were there since then.
yeah, I like the tail end. I feel like they saw me coming, and then they were like, okay, cool, we have the succession plan. We can
Mm.
now we can now retire small, like a little small
They love the
retirement.
succession plan, bro. I'm telling you.
So yeah, and now somehow I'm a part leader. I don't again, on the theme of God doing things where you just don't understand how they work out. I don't know how I ended up there, but I am indeed here now. So it's not too bad. It's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, it was that. It was the whole, oh, just join us 1 week. You can do it, and then we won't call you again. Just the one time, just try it out. I'm telling you now, I've only seen it fail like twice, and I don't know how. It's like Evans and oh, I shouldn't name drop actually. That's crazy to name drop, and I'm not even here. I'm not gonna do that actually, but it was just so surreal, and it's funny how you say the practice thing because I kid you not, the first minute I stepped in there, it was Francis and Bright and Mommy Phobia. I was like, yo, these are guys where it's like when I was younger, these are like the guys who was like, oh, I can't. There's like a level of respect there.
Yeah.
They told me to sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and like I don't even think I like sung it. I think I like spoke sung like
Mm,
when you like speak, but you try and put it on like a little type of way where it's like you're singing. I did
a
that.
twang.
So I guess they said I was like, oh, your bass. I was like, I don't know about bass. I looked to the bass. I'm like, there's only one person there.
Who was it? Because I'm thinking at the time, who was in base?
I
Was it
think it
Joe?
was Joe, yeah.
Okay.
And that was a time when like he was tailoring off it as well. So I was like, I should have just tried to force a tenor thing because Bright Francis, they were all tenor. And the thing is, I had to sit next to them and everything too. I don't know why. I don't know if they were bass at the time, but I had to sit next to them. So every time they would like incline their ear to try and hear if I was singing or not, I was like, I'm not even a singer. I don't know what I'm doing here. So to go from that, and like you said, you're one of the leaders. I'm also one of the leaders as well. So it's like to go from that to being timid and shy and hardly putting in the effort to like actually being a captain or like I don't know the leader of that section. It's surreal, but I think it goes back to at the same time just enjoying the role that God's given you because I think I've told you at the time where we've gone up several steps. We've gone from hardly having a choir to singing at youth camp to having our own robes. And from the outside looking in, it's like, oh my gosh, Ebenezer. Uncle Tete, for example, can you imagine where he's left us, I think like what, 10 years ago? Somewhere around that line, 10, 12, something like that. He's come back to us having roles, a whole choir, like even the generation before us, they like all filtered out. It's just the next generation coming in and even like fulfilling what he's wanted to have. So for us, it's like, oh, we've been here, we've been doing it, but like we've been on and off. We've had 2019 to COVID where we had that little iffy period. But outside looking in, it's been really impressive from us. And I think it's mostly because of we've accepted the roles that we've been given us by God. So on the concept of God putting us in positions we never would have dreamt of, I think this is it because in my mind, I'm not a singer, please. But I've enjoyed it in the sense that there's nothing better than singing for God. There's nothing better than singing praises and even just an established having like a community. I think that's what the adults really enjoy with singing because I've told you like several times where you can tell the adults they have like a smile on their face and everything. I think it's just more so because of the community and just being able to have people that you want to rejoice with God. So it's been a crazy ride, but I can't say I regret it any way, shape, or form.
With the adults, I feel like it comes with experience as well.
Yeah,
Because like you've always told me, like they know why they're singing. They've
yeah,
they've had a lot of um experiences in their life, and so for them to be, there, they know that God's done something for them.
hmm,
With us, it's like, yeah, we have lives, but like in comparison, how much could you possibly experience, in comparison? And
yeah,
so it's like maybe we're not cognizant of just how much God has done for us at the
yeah,
time in which we're singing, or when maybe we're not putting together like maybe, okay, like God's done a lot. So what I can do is put all my energy and heart into this song, for example.
hmm,
So it's different, but I don't know if that's just a thing of if we keep going, we'll get there, or like we have to do something in order to feel that, or God has to come and dwell with us for us to feel that. That's always my question, because it's not a thing of talent, because I feel like, we're solid, you
Yeah,
know. Yeah, we're solid. We're not bad,
yeah.
and we could get there, but it's
No, you're
just
definitely gonna get there. By God's grace, you'll get there. Don't worry. But it's like, um, I think to answer your question, I think it's just more so as you go through life. Like for example, I think one moment where I can recall in my life was applying to the hospital where I'm at now, because I can remember this. I don't think I'll ever forget this, like this specific thing in my life where I had to go through in my degree 3 years and then the +1 program at a hospital. And there were, I think, three options. It was Rutgers, the hospital where I'm at now, and then there's another hospital down further south of Jersey. And as good as Rutgers is, I just didn't like the aspect of they take in like 50 students. So it'd be like 50, it's like a whole lecture hall. And they'll take those 50 students, and then for your rotations, they'll send you to, let's say they send you to Union 1 week. And then after Union's done, you'll go back and then send you to, I don't know, Montclair for 1 week. I didn't like that because I like stability in my life, one. And you don't really get the chance to know people if you go to a rotation for 1 week. It's like, all right, thank you for teaching me. I'll see you somewhere in life. Rather, where if you go to a hospital, you get to know all these people, you get to grow with those people, you get to foster community with those people. So in my mind, it was one of those two hospitals. So I told myself, because I think my mom told me at the time that someone in the church goes to that hospital and like they went through the program and everything and they enjoyed it. So I was like, okay, I'll apply to this hospital. Printed out the paper so I could send it out to them and everything. I'm reading through the thing, and I don't know, it didn't click to me at that point, but I was reading through the paper and it said, oh, you have to have a certain requirement for science courses. Everything else is cool. Something about me though, the disclaimer, I don't like science. Like I don't hate science, but science, it just doesn't click to me the same way like, English, math, but English doesn't really get money like that. So I was like, I'll go to the science route, see what it has for me. If I don't like it, I'll go through something else. So science was never something I enjoyed. So they said you have to have a specific GPA requirement for science courses. So I'm doing the math and I'm like, I don't fulfill it. And I'll never forget this point in my life because I was in the library, I think at like 7 in the morning at my school. I made sure to get there and everything so I could like print it out, establish the mail, send it out when I got home. I was sitting in that library, I think, for like 20 minutes. And I was like, I don't want to fill this out anymore. Because if I don't fulfill the requirement, what's the point of me even doing it in the first place? It's a waste of time. I'm sending them money to apply. So it's like, if I don't fulfill the requirement, what even is the point? And the only reason why I did it is because I printed out the paper. If I didn't print out that paper and I read it beforehand, I would have just said, you know what, I'll just apply to Rutgers. I'll get into that one for sure. So I did all of that, sent it out, just through, God. If God wants me to have it, God will let me have it. If not, I didn't fulfill the requirement. I can't be mad at it. Right. So I think it came up to the point where we were doing the Lord's Supper and everything, the washing of the feet. And I remember I had asked you where, because they usually ask, oh, any prayer requests, this and that. I'm not good at that. I think that was like my second or third time doing that. So it's not natural to me whatsoever. And, I'm a very shy person. I don't want to ask people of anything, but it just felt on my heart to just say, you know what? Why not? I told Regis, I was like, I've been waiting for, an interview or just an email just to see where my application is at. I sent it out in like September. I think it was November at the time, somewhere around that. And I haven't heard anything back. So I'm just, that's my request. That same week, I kid you not, they said, oh, I have an interview. I said, wow, look at God. That's crazy. And I'm still stressing on me because like, I could get an interview, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna get in. Didn't interview. I didn't tell anybody, but I don't even think I told Regis about it. I don't think I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell Regis, I didn't tell anyone because it was like, if I get the interview, I don't get the thing, I'm gonna be, no, that doesn't, it won't sit right with me if I got the interview and I didn't get it. But the only thing I told my parents was like, oh, I applied, let's see what goes on from there. So I did an interview without any help, without any of that. And I was like, I'm iffy about the interview. I don't know if that went well. So then it got to the point where um
But did you get the chance to have the interview or not?
oh no, I did the interview. I just didn't tell anyone I had the interview.
Oh, okay.
So it was just me doing it by myself and just praying to God that, oh, if God permits, the interview goes well and then it'll send me an application. But as for telling people, I just didn't want to tell anyone because I just felt it would have been embarrassing for me if I just told us like, oh, I got the interview, I'm gonna get the job. And then they told me a month later, so, oh, you didn't get the application.
But before the Lord's Supper, did
Mhm.
you have any kind of belief and faith in that? That after the Lord's Supper, you're gonna have it, or you just did this? Okay, fine. Let me do it. What happens.
Yeah, I had faith that I'd hear something back. I just didn't have it in my mind because it had been 2 months since I heard or since I sent the application. So my prayer was to just hear anything at all, just have any chance to have that position. But I had faith simply because God was just I know God is for me. God has a plan for me. So
Right.
in any case, I'll send it out, even if I don't fulfill the requirements. I know that God has a plan for me. So if I don't get that position, I'll get something greater from God. If I do get it, that's
But
how I know
but
God wanted me.
before the Lord's Supper, did you have
Mhm.
any encounter with God? Like, say, oh, I'm praying with something, and I want the results, or I want feedback from God.
I didn't hear anything, but I
No,
kept the faith.
no.
And
Before the Lord's Supper, did you
yes,
have any kind of encounter with God in that kind of situation?
no, nothing.
Like you pray over something like, oh, I want something that let me pray over it and see what God can do for me.
The one thing I did do, I didn't have anything from God, but the one thing I did do, and this is why I feel like the youth choir was so important in my life. There's a song called Denya Nyame to me.
And at
And
20, give us a line of that song.
hey, you want me to sing now?
Yeah, just give us a line. Any part. I know you
Hey,
sing bass, so you can sing bass. You can sing tenor, alto, treble, whatever it is.
I sing bass. So
Okay.
Enya onya mintu minye minye Ena onya mintu minyo Otu mi Ate ye buso Eje na buswa Ejanu tu minyo.
So now I could say that you have the kind of feel to be part of the youth choir. Before, as you were saying, you didn't have the joy and the love for that, but as you're
Yeah.
growing up, you now enjoying being part of the youth choir.
Oh yeah, of course. It's a
Okay.
community that is it's just it's fun to be a part of something that's for God's work at the end of the day. That's something I've realized as I've gone on with doing stuff.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you this question: how do you
Mhm.
feel being an Adventist? Are you do you see yourself neglected in the church or not?
What do you mean?
Like, are you guys part? The church includes you in the service, in all activities, or not?
So I want to say yes, but at the same time, it wasn't as big as until we had the new building.
Okay.
So we went to the gym at first, and the one thing they tried was to have us when our like what other churches do, where they have it with the main service and everything. And I guess the one thing they realized is that the youth weren't really paying attention. So they tried to do two things, I guess. They tried to have us on the stage, so we have our own little thing. The one thing is that it just didn't it distracted people from paying attention to that service because it's still in the same room. So despite us having that little barrier of the stage, it still was kind of distracting.
Distracted. Okay.
The one thing that did change though was when we did have the youth chapel, and it was like I was saying before, it forces you to be able to grow as a person. It forces you to be able to be uncomfortable with things. So when you do go to the main service, you're comfortable.
All
For
right.
example, I mentioned Uncle George like several times in this. He would he would just
Push you
go off of
guys.
he would go off of a woman and say, "Oh, you, I want you to do, um, I want you to do scripture reading, or I want you to do prayer, I want you to do introduction." And at first, I didn't enjoy doing that. I was terrible. I messed up a whole bunch of times, but it allowed me to be able to grow. So, in the case of when I go upstairs, for example, if we have, I don't know, youth day,
All
youth
right.
day is something that it wouldn't be. uncomfortable. It wouldn't feel forced. It was just something that come naturally because I've been doing it for years.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess this is the main thing, that it just helped me to have that experience and just be able to grow. So once I do go upstairs or I do have the main service, it's not something that is new to me.
Okay. What about you, Regis?
Um, in terms of feeling involved in the church,
Yeah.
it's also, I have to piggyback off what my brother said in terms of it's different than how it used to be. Um, he brought up youth day, and I always remember my first youth day that I can remember, right?
Okay.
It was at the gym. We all went black and white, but the thing is, I couldn't tell you now one thing that we did from that youth day. I just remembered that we wore black and white. And
Okay.
so it's a bit different. Like,
Do you know? Do you remember the year?
ooh, um, oh, it
At the
must have
gym,
been
right?
somewhere around, yes, somewhere around the
So
early 2010s, maybe
that's around 2015.
10, 11, 12, somewhere there, or maybe 15.
2015. Yeah.
Yeah, around that time. But I couldn't tell you one thing in which we actually did on that youth day, even
Okay.
myself. And I participated in it.
Mm-hmm.
But the most recent youth days, I can tell you like, oh yeah, we, um, for example, recently we went over the youth week of prayer. We had that, and then myself and Jeffrey, we were blessed enough to talk
The
about what
part.
we had learned the previous week, right?
Okay.
Um, I can tell you what I did for the previous youth days. I've now done introduction a few times. I've done Titan offering a few times, and like Jeff has said with Uncle George, um, he puts you in a position where it's like sink or swim, I guess. You know that
Mm-hmm.
that feeling is sink or swim. And so I'm actually kind of opposite to Jeff, where I was okay with doing everything except preaching. So,
Okay.
so Uncle, while we're
Why not?
downstairs,
Why not?
I, I don't know, maybe just because I thought it was something that was unattainable or something that I just couldn't do for some reason. That was my perception at first. And
Okay.
so I would be okay with doing introduction or Titan offering downstairs, right, for
Okay.
example, in our youth chapel. But I remember the first time that Uncle George told me that I'd be preaching downstairs. I think my preaching lasted like 5 minutes.
Wow.
And not
Do you
not to
remember the
say that
topic?
I could find the topic, but I couldn't tell you that I remember it now. I could find the topic. It's somewhere in my drive, but
Okay.
not to say that 5 minutes is bad or anything, because it's not necessarily about the quantity, but the quality. Hopefully, you
Right.
touch somebody in the 5 minutes that you spoke. But I think you have a greater chance of touching somebody if you use more words than if you don't use words. And so, in the most recent times in which I've been able to kind of increase the times in which I've been able to reach downstairs, has helped. And then going upstairs is kind of like, it's also terrifying as well. But yeah, I think I was lucky enough to have like a partner, lucky enough to do it with Jeffrey the first time. Um, I don't know how I would react to it if they just told me you're doing a solo preaching in front of the church. It's still terrifying, but it's also something that we call upon God to help us with because can't do it on our own. So
Mm.
yeah,
Okay. All right. I think we have to end the program today, and God willing, next week we will fully enroll into it. So, guys, thank you for coming over and joining us and sharing your thoughts on the topic and having a discussion with everybody. So next week we're gonna be having a full discussion and a full topic to talk about. So I'll see you guys next week.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Yo, I think for the Motomoka, Jeffrey and Regis, Chain, Sena, Enya experience, sorry, Nimni, experience with school, any life, Arabomo, and so come. Judgment everybody so every Saturday evening after Vesper service. I'm gonna be treating komo. In your monkwa, I'm gonna other people na who sena college etie and real life and so etie. I'm amoko be juma omuko ejuma internship any programs omo ye. You been different what do you call it? Different guest also na more train komo. It has someone na mo be kind ho na it me di juma yi emane akọ ewie ye. Man think be my be share next week.